It was the kind of cold that felt personal, the sort that crept into bones and hearts alike. Snowflakes swirled in a relentless dance outside the fogged windows of a tiny two-bedroom trailer parked just off a rural highway in upstate New York. Inside, 38-year-old Eli Turner wrapped a patchwork blanket tighter around his daughter Maggie, who'd been coughing all night. He glanced nervously at the thermostat, dead cold, and then at the nearly empty bottle of cough syrup on the counter. "Daddy," Maggie murmured, her small voice hoarse. "Is it still snowing?" "Like the sky's throwing a party," Eli said with a soft smile, brushing a wisp of hair from her forehead. "But don't worry, snow can't come inside." What Maggie didn't know was that the propane tank had run dry 2 days ago, and Eli had already used the last of his savings to buy her antibiotics. The only job he could find, shoveling driveways and occasionally helping at a mechanic's garage, barely covered groceries. But she didn't need to know that. She just needed warmth, and stories, and for her dad to keep pretending everything was okay. And so he did. By mid-morning, the snow was knee-deep, and the wind howled like a freight train through the trees. Eli bundled up in his only winter coat, frayed at the sleeves and missing a button, grabbed a shovel, and stepped outside. He had to make it into town. Maybe someone needed a driveway cleared. Maybe he could earn $20 for soup or more medicine. As he trudged down the icy shoulder of the road, a sleek black SUV caught his eye, stuck at an awkward angle near the ditch. The back tires spun uselessly, the driver's side door ajar. A woman in a long, elegant coat stood beside it, shivering, her gloved hands trembling around her phone. Eli approached slowly, not wanting to spook her. "You all right, ma'am?" She turned, startled. Snowflakes clung to her lashes and her lips were blue with cold. I slid off the road. My phone died. I can't get it back up the hill." Eli scanned the vehicle. "All-wheel drive, huh? Still no match for this mess. I can help, if that's okay." She hesitated, sizing him up. Eli didn't look like much, scruffy beard, threadbare jeans, boots that had clearly seen better winters. But his eyes were kind. "I'd really appreciate that," she said finally. "I'm supposed to be in Albany by noon. I'll do my best. I'm Eli, by the way." "Claire," she said, managing a small smile. For the next hour, Eli shoveled snow, packed gravel beneath the tires, and gently rocked the vehicle back and forth. Claire tried to help, but her designer boots weren't made for winter labor. "You're persistent," she said through chattering teeth. "Comes with the territory," Eli grunted. "Single dads don't get snow days." She raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. Finally, with a loud groan and a spray of slush, the SUV jerked free. Eli let out a breath of relief, brushing his hands on his coat. "You're good to go," he said. "But careful, it gets slick just around that bend." Claire reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a sleek leather wallet. "Let me pay you." Eli shook his head. "Nah, just glad you're safe." "At least take this," she insisted, holding out a crisp $100 bill. He hesitated, Lord knew he needed it, but something inside him resisted. "Maybe next time," he said with a nod. She stared at him, stunned. In her world, boardrooms, contracts, mergers, everyone wanted something. No one did anything for free. "Thank you, Eli," she said softly. "You take care, Claire." And with that, he turned and walked away through the falling snow. Claire Prescott sat behind the wheel for several long seconds, heart racing, not from the cold, but from something else. That man, in all his humility, had given without expectation. And something about the way he had smiled at his daughter's mention, a kind of tired, stubborn hope, stuck with her. She didn't drive to Albany. She sat in that car, pulled out her backup phone, and searched. 2 weeks passed. Eli didn't think about the woman in the SUV again. Life moved fast when you were surviving. Maggie had gotten a little better, but the cold lingered in her chest. He worked double shifts at the garage and spent nights boiling water just to warm the air in her bedroom. Then, one Friday morning, a black luxury car pulled up outside the garage. "Is that for us?" joked Eli's coworker, wiping grease from his hands. The door opened. Out stepped Claire, her tailored coat replaced with jeans, a sweater, and snow boots. She looked right at home in the grease and grime. Eli blinked. "Claire. I've been looking for you," she said, smiling. "You found me. I wanted to thank you, properly." "You did," he said. "You tried, anyway." "No," she said, stepping closer. "I didn't. You changed something in me that day, Eli. And I'd like to return the favor." That afternoon, Claire met Maggie. A bright-eyed, curious child who immediately asked if she was a teacher or a doctor. "Neither," Claire laughed. "I work with a lot of people who wear suits and talk too much." Maggie giggled. Claire stayed for dinner, ramen noodles with cut-up hot dogs, and listened as Eli read from Maggie's favorite book. She saw the way he knelt beside her bed, whispering quiet prayers she wasn't meant to hear. And something inside her, something long frozen, began to thaw. What Eli didn't know was that Claire was the founder and CEO of Prescott & Company, one of the fastest-growing tech firms on the East Coast. And she wasn't used to feeling this way, this drawn to someone for reasons she couldn't quite name. Over the next few weeks, she came by more often. Sometimes with groceries. Sometimes with books for Maggie. Once, with a brand new space heater. "I can't take that," Eli said, hands up. "You already did," she replied with a wink. One snowy evening, as the three of them built a lopsided snowman outside the trailer, Claire caught Eli watching her. There was something in his eyes, a mixture of disbelief and wonder. "Why are you really here?" he asked quietly. She looked down at the snow, then back at him. "Because, the world needs more people like you. And maybe, so do I." That night, after Maggie fell asleep, they sat side by side on the porch, wrapped in blankets and stars. Claire opened up, about her parents' divorce, her rise through the corporate world, the loneliness of success. Eli listened, not as someone impressed, but as someone who understood emptiness. And then, without pretense or plan, she reached for his hand. By spring, the snow had melted, but something new had taken root. Claire offered him a job, at first, just handling logistics for one of her shipping departments. "You know cars, you know people. You'll be great," she said. He took it, hesitantly. Then came health insurance. A safer home. Better care for Maggie. And slowly, Eli began to believe again, in stability, in dignity, in hope. On a warm June afternoon, Claire and Eli stood in a small park, watching Maggie chase butterflies. She wore a dress Claire had picked out for her birthday. "She calls you her fairy godmother," Eli said with a laugh. Claire smiled, eyes misty. "She calls you her hero." Eli looked at her, really looked at her, the way a man does when he's on the edge of something life-changing. "I didn't mean to fall in love," he whispered. She took his hand. "Neither did I." They married that fall in a quiet ceremony under a canopy of golden leaves. Eli wore a navy suit, his first ever. Maggie was the flower girl, of course. And Claire walked down the aisle not as a CEO, but as a woman who'd been saved, not from snow, but from solitude.